So what's up everybody, it's this guy, back again. This is a follow-up video to a video I posted a while back. It was a video that I posted about how to fix a sagging shower door by putting a new hinge in it. Well, I did get some messages from some folks out there that it wasn't the hinge sleeve that was messed up, but the actual hinge had a crack in it. And just so happens that my door also started to develop a crack right in the hinge. So to show you what I'm talking about, this is the hinge here, and you see how this has got a hairline fracture in it? This fracture actually runs all the way down here. It's not very big, but it's just enough that the door is starting to sag. And so I've done some research and tried to find the best way to fix it. Unfortunately, from all I can find online is you can basically just buy a whole new door, but you can't buy the hinge anywhere. I'm not really sure why. If anybody watching here is a shower door installer or you work at a hardware store and you got some kind of tip for us, please share it with us so that we can get a new hinge instead of having to jerry-rig it somehow. Now, since I'm a tinkerer, I figured I'll try another solution to fix it, and I'm gonna go ahead and try some JB Weld. Now, the hope is that I'm gonna be able to apply some JB Weld onto here as a bead, almost like a welder's bead, and then try to get some down inside of here as well. Now, we do have a limited amount of workspace because if we make the bead too big, then our sleeve and our door won't fit over this anymore. So it's gonna be a very tricky process to get this to work. So I talked to the guy at the hardware store. He's like, hey, it can't help. If it doesn't work, you're back where you started. And I figured I'd save a lot of viewers any pain and suffering. So if it works for me, then great. You'll have a tutorial on how to do it. If it doesn't work out for me, then you know not to waste your time with this. And it's on to plan C at that point. Since you've already replaced the hinge, you've already tried something else. If we don't want to buy a door, we're going to give this a shot. Now, I've already dismantled the door, removed the door from the frame. If you're not sure how to get your door off your frame, I did create a video where I showed how to replace the sleeve. In the video, I'll walk you through removing and then replacing the door. Please refer to that video so that you can get that done. I've already got the hinge out. Now, before we can apply the JB Weld though, you do want to create some abrasion on the hinge. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sand here and kind of scar up the area. And that's to allow the JB Weld to have something to bite onto. Now we only want to rough it up a little. I'm also going to try to get in here as well. I'm taking a screwdriver and I'm just flipping it over the edge here of the sandpaper, just so I can get into that area. Okay, so the way that this stuff works is pretty simple. You're just going to mix equal parts onto a plate or something. Now I'm using a tiny little putty knife here to mix this together. I probably don't have one of these laying around. This is back a throwback from when I was a famous artist. I still have a lot of my art supplies laying around. But you're basically going to mix this stuff up until it's a nice uniform gray color. The other thing to know is that this stuff is supposed to dry like metal, so you don't want to let it dry on your $30 putty knife. Once you're done with it, you want to go ahead and clean that off. So I'm going to start with the harder part first, which is in this tight little area in here. Oh, not there. Now I'm taking a bead of it, and I'm just going to drop it in here. Okay, so now that we got a somewhat okay bead in there, I went and cleaned out some of the residue from the actual sleeve here. Don't get this stuff on your hands, by the way. Now we're gonna roll it over, and now we're gonna work on the back side here. This is where the bulk of the damage is. Now, number one, I'm gonna make sure it's aligned. And now I'm gonna apply a pretty liberal bead here. Now I got a lot of flexibility in this area because the hinge actually doesn't sit right on this edge. So at this point, the JB Weld's on the hinge as best as I can get it on there without overdoing it. Again, the sleeve has to come back on and the hinge has to slide back onto it, so we can't put too much. It'll set in about 4 to 6 hours. According to the instructions, we should let it rest for 24 hours before attempting to put a load onto it. So I'm not going to reinstall the shower door until this time tomorrow. You'll see that in the next step.
24 hours later.
So at this point, it's now been officially 24 hours. Now I do have to say that I am impressed with how this set. This is actually rock hard. I don't know if it's as hard as steel, but it's definitely very solid. And before I could push down on here and it would flex, and now it's not flexing anymore, which is pretty amazing. The true test though, we'll see whether or not that 75-pound door will actually break this bond that we've put together. If I hang this door and it doesn't break immediately, I'm already impressed. So I'm happy to report that the door hung just fine and the JB Weld actually didn't break. What's even better, the door opens and closes just like it used to, just like new. So what I'll do is I'll continue to monitor. If the JB Weld does fail, in the comments below the video, I'll post a date as to when it failed. That way you'll know whether the solution worked in the long term or if it didn't. So if you're watching this video and there's nothing posted down there, it means that the hold is still working.